No pressure. Okay, we are live on Zoom. We are live on Facebook, everything. Yeah, it's a lot of coordination, Zach. So I appreciate the jazz hands on all that. This is going to be a fun webinar. I'm excited. Nice to meet everyone out there in the internet world. My name is Anna Tauzin. I'm the Chief Revenue and Innovation Officer for the Texas Restaurant Association. And we are really thrilled to bring this webinar to you guys here today. When we first started talking with Virtual Dining Concepts about doing a sponsored webinar, they were like, okay, great, but we don't want to make it a boring commercial webinar like all those other webinars out there, to which we were extremely grateful. So Kelly, thank you for being so open and creative about how to present information to restaurants, especially when they need it most right now. And she's got some really creative ideas. And we're joined by two of her friends, by which they're now my friends, Allison and Zack. So they're going to talk a little bit about their companies too. But just a couple of housekeeping things first. Yes, this is being recorded. Yes, we will send it out to you afterward. I will also send all of your contact information to all these lovely people, so they will follow up with you as well. If you have questions during the webinar, ask them in the chat window, ask them in the Q&A window, wherever it makes sense for you, you feel comfortable chatting. Feel free to ask each other questions too. In fact, as we get started, I'd love to know who's joining us. So if you don't mind in the chat window saying, your name and which restaurant concept you're with and what city you're in, something like that, just so we know who we're talking to, so it doesn't feel like we're just talking to each other, which is also lovely, but it gives us an idea of who's out there in the audience. So with that, I will kick it over to Kelly for some introductions. We'll go Kelly, Allison, and then Zach, and then we'll get started on some content.
Amazing. Anna, thank you so much for the warm welcome, and hello, Texas. We are super excited. Virtual Dining Concepts, we have been around for, it feels like just over a year now, and Texas has been just such an incredible partner for us. We were at this show probably it's almost a month ago now, right? 3 weeks ago. And so we're super excited. Virtual Dining Concepts, we are the leading provider of delivery-only brands, and we are helping restaurants with existing kitchen spaces. So whether you're a restaurant, a hotel, a bowling alley, anything that you've got that commercialized kitchen space, we help them sort of maximize it by adding in one of our delivery-only brands. And so we have gone out and partnered with national names such as Mr. Beast, Mariah Carey, NASCAR, or our newest concept, Barstool Bites, in partnership with Barstool Sports. And we are so lucky to be helping restaurants sort of generate an extra $500 to $1,000 a day by adding in one of our delivery-only concepts. So we're super excited to be here today.
Awesome. I'm happy to jump in if that's okay. I am Allison Gallagher. I am the Vice President of Operations here at Yaymaker. Yaymaker is home of the original paint night. And since then, we have expanded into a number of concepts. I oversee our platform of event owners. We have individuals all across the US, Canada, South Africa, including Texas, who partner with venues to bring creative events and new customers into their spaces. It's a great mutually beneficial relationship where our venues are able to benefit from additional customers and food and beverage sales. Our event owners get to host their events in these amazing different environments. Pre-pandemic, we were partnering with over 6,000 venues internationally. Obviously, pandemic has had an impact on our business, as it has with all of you joining us as well. We have pivoted to the virtual space pretty quickly when pandemic hit, which was how we were able to keep our platform running, our customers engaged, and our event owners with us. But luckily, we have relaunched as of April, and we are gearing up for our official relaunch in October, where we will be going fully back in venue. And we are excited to partner with venues and make sure that we are helping them to continue to grow their business as we move forward.
Awesome. And I'm Zack Oates, the founder and CEO of Ovation, an actionable guest feedback platform. And let me just say, I love Texas. Okay. Everything's bigger in Texas, except for maybe my drink cup. I think I may win that battle. But it is filled with Coke. So there you have it. But I lived in Texas, lived in Dallas, Tyler, Longview, Nacogdoches, Texarkana. So anyway, deep love of Texas. Had a lot of fun there at TRA. Great show. So thank you, Anna and team, for putting that on. And a little bit about Ovation and myself. I grew up in restaurants, and I learned that really everything is about the guest experience, but current tools, they just stink, right? I mean, look at this. I brought here a receipt survey from lunch. People don't take these anymore, right? And if they are going to tell you that something was less than exceptional, what are they going to do? Talk to your manager, take 15 minutes of their time, or leave you a negative review? There's just not great tools. So with my background in restaurants and in technology, I brought together a really rock star team to reimagine what would guest feedback look like if it were reinvented today. And after working with hundreds of restaurants and brands and interviewing consumers, we created Ovation, the actionable guest feedback solution that actually drives revenue. And we are an omni-channel 2-question survey that allows restaurants to easily resolve concerns in real time, get more 5-star reviews, and discover insights to improve. And we actually recently were just voted the #1 restaurant feedback tool in America. And so really grateful for that and really excited to be here, and appreciate the invitation.
Thank you, Zach. I appreciate that too. I really like how you've got something in background and foreground, by the way. It's kind of giving me some inspiration for my future Zoom. So
yeah, you like my whiteboard over here on the floor.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's really
but this way, you know, if I'm getting serious, Anna, because then I'll get really close and I'll be like, hey, listen.
Zach, we didn't charge for this webinar, so hold on to that. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And thank you, everyone who's joining us online as well. We see your comments on Facebook and, of course, the comments that are coming into the Zoom window. Aaron, Patrick, Kara, everyone, we really appreciate you joining us. I don't know what Fermano Foods is, but that sounds really interesting, Darren. And also there's some plant-based plant-based pizza and ice cream concept, which also sounds fantastic. Even as a Texan, we understand that like at least one day a week, maybe we should eat some vegetables. So I appreciate y'all joining us. So let's talk a little bit about the current landscape. We've all lived through this. I mean, Allison, you guys had to completely reinvent your platform because you weren't able to have in-person events. I'm sure, Zach, you saw totally different kinds of responses coming from customers on what their expectation was whenever they all had to pivot to be, you know, more limited service versus full service restaurants. And Kelly, you guys really capitalized on a great moment for restaurants when they did have space. They didn't have people really coming in and they could maybe use their footprint to do a little bit more. I also think that between all of the different people that you're working with, Kelly, you guys could produce a really amazing Christmas album, because just think about that as like a virtual dining concepts Christmas album with all the different stars you work with. I think it'd be really fantastic. Maybe a little bit of the restaurants could sell it and get a piece of it, something like that. But Kelly, talk to us a little bit about the current landscape. Why did virtual dining concepts come along when it did? What's going on out there? And frankly, why do restaurants need to bring in more money?
Yeah. Our timeliness on this was honestly not planned, but it did in a weird way work out very nicely, in that we were there when restaurants sort of needed us most. And I think that was the biggest thing about it. And what I love about virtual brands is that it encourages restaurants to continue to focus in on their existing restaurant space. They don't need to reinvent their brand. They don't need to change anything, rebrand, recolor, relogo, whatever it may be. It's something where they can generate extra revenue by leveraging one of our brands, and then they can take that money and reinvest it into their kitchen space, whether it's a remodel, whether it's a rebrand, or for right now, most importantly, the staff, and keeping those lights on and keeping the staff there. Virtual dining concepts, we were actually in testing for about the last 3 years. Our owner owns and operates about 200 restaurants across the United States. And so because of that, he is solely responsible for paying the rent, paying those, facilities, keeping them, keeping the lights on, having the staff there. And he was looking for an opportunity of how do we make them more profitable? There are definitely slow day parts and there are definitely slower days. And how do you generate revenue on those days without with already knowing who your existing customer base is? And so that is where sort of this idea was born. We originally launched with two fairly generic concepts, a wing squad and a company called P.Za, which was a delivery-only pizza brand. And, once we started seeing the traction of like, there might be something here, Robert really used or leveraged his background in the celebrity side of things from Planet Hollywood and sort of paired the two together, and our first virtual brand, Bites, came to light. And we launched that in July of last year. And at the end of the day, the concept really exists for restaurants that pour their heart and soul into opening a location and making decisions related to the menus, the branding, the products that they're carrying. And they've built sort of this loyal customer base. And so what is an easy solution when staffing is an issue for them to generate an extra, $500 or $1,000 a day without having to sort of take their eye off the prize. And what's been exciting over the last few months is we've grown from working with just a couple hundred restaurants to today we are partnered with over 2,000 restaurants across the United States. And nothing makes me happier than hearing the success stories that come out saying, Mr. Beast Burger is paying my rent this month, or I was able to launch Mariah Carey's cookies and now I can pay my staff $15 an hour. And those are sort of things that, restaurants have no control over, but they can use one of our virtual brands to sort of tackle that and take care of their staff when staffing is such an issue. So it's been a really, really exciting journey. And I think when we look at the restaurant space right now, not only does every customer matter and keeping every customer that walks through the door and knows their brand, it's how can you efficiently go out and get new customers? And when I look at my friends, Zack and Allison, I think that between the three of us, we have got some incredibly unique solutions to sort of capture both of those two different things of keeping customers and getting new customers efficiently. And they all sort of work really nicely together.
Yeah, they do. That was a great sum up, Kelly. Thank you so much for doing that. Zack, let's talk about Ovation first. I'm curious to know how Ovation actually brings in additional dollars, knowing that you have to spend a little bit of money to get Ovation started, right? So that there's a little bit of investment involved there. But I also would like for you to sort of tie this back to customer sentiment when it comes to value. Because as you know, we've all seen the same kind of reports. There was a really good report from Black Box Intelligence over the summer that said that one thing that consumers, we've seen drop in consumer level, is their confidence around the idea of value, what they're getting from their restaurant experience. So talk a little bit about Ovation, how you can bring in extra dollars, and then how you can prove value to your customers too.
Yeah, totally. I think you go back in the day, and why did people come into your restaurant? I actually just went to a neighborhood grocery store last night. Actually, they had a big block party celebrating their 30th birthday. And why do all those people come in there? Well, because they know the owner by name. There's this very, very cordial, very friendly relationship there. And what is that? How do you do that today? Because quite frankly, it's so hard to build that same relationship. And that's really what drives loyalty. Loyalty is more than a punch card. Loyalty is more than an app download. Loyalty is when they trust you enough to have their friends and family come with them, when they could recommend a restaurant to someone, when they cater their Super Bowl party from your restaurant. Like, these are things that show trust, and that's real loyalty. And that's how you build a true business, more so than just a restaurant, right? And so in terms of, how does Ovation drive revenue? Three main ways is through retention, online reviews, and texting. So for example, there's a great customer we have down there in Texas called Hat Creek, and great brand. And they obviously, like everybody else, it's hard for them to do everything perfectly, right? Sometimes things get messed up. Now, before, there's a lot of things they didn't even know about. Well, in the last 6 months, they've been able to save 324 customers, which is over $30,000 of revenue for them. And that's been a really awesome thing that they've been able to really not just save the customers, though, because when they save the customers, they get them coming back, they get them telling their friends, they make sure that they're not spreading negativity around the brand. And especially they're not leaving these negative reviews, because everybody knows that reviews hurt. One negative review will lose you 30 customers. Well, we've been able to help them get over 100 new reviews per month, 100 more 5-star reviews per month. And they went from a 3.9 stars across all the review platforms to 4.3 stars across the review platforms. And that's been something that for them, if you guys don't know, there's just 2 things about online reviews I want to teach you real quick. One is the frequency, the velocity of 5-star reviews is the best way to increase your search engine optimization, which is how high up do you show when someone types in lunch near me. And the other thing is that if you don't have a 4.0 rating on Google and I type in best burgers near me and Zack Shack Burger Shack is at a 3.9, I don't even show up on the search results. So if you type in best anything, 4.0 and above is all that you'll see. So getting those reviews is really important. And then lastly, texting. Now that we have the customer phone number, we have their satisfaction, we have what they ordered. Now we can actually send text messages. We have one of our customers down there in Texas that they've been with us for 5 months and they're driving $1,500 in profit with every single text message that they send, and it costs them $50 to send it. So texting is one of these things that's really cool because especially, like with Allison, if you're doing an event and you want to let people know, text them, let them know. If you open up a new concept with Kelly and you want to let people know, text them, let them know. If you have the database, you could use it. If you don't, you can't. One last thing I will say about guest sentiment is that we have seen a lot more reviews come through the pipeline, but online reviews that mention delivery are on average 1.5 stars less than the average review for that location. Meaning that if I have a 4.5 star on Google, any review that mentions delivery will have a rating of around 3.0 stars. So it's very important that you have a way that you can communicate with a guest, that you can capture who they are, how they're feeling. And then, like I talked about, build that relationship, build that trust. And yeah, everyone understands that things aren't going to be perfect. But if you're saying, hey, if you got 45 minutes to let us know that we forgot the sauce on the side, please fill out this receipt survey. If that's how you're expecting your guests to communicate with you, like, hey, welcome to 2021. You know what I mean? We don't, consumers just don't have time for that. No one's got interest. And if you don't let them tell you in a very easy, frictionless way, guess who they're going to tell? Their good friend, Mr. Yelp, right? They're going to tell their business partners. They're going to tell their coworkers. They're going to tell their family because they want to feel heard. And that's one of the things that we've found is so critical nowadays is let your guests feel heard, give them that channel and build that relationship because again, it's more than just food nowadays. It's about that relationship. It's about that trust and hospitality isn't dead. It's just gone digital.
Sounds like a tagline, Zack. Thank you.
Yeah, that is how I close out my video.
Bumper sticker.
That's good. I was like, dang. And don't forget to hit that like and follow button, right? No, that was great. It was great. I had no idea that that's actually the volume, how you put it, the velocity of 5-star reviews is how you get higher rankings quicker. Like that makes sense, but I've actually never just sat and thought about it. And the fact that delivery ratings are so much lower than in-person ratings, I mean, I do believe that. I mean, no offense, Kelly, but I'm sure Tiger Bites is delicious, but I have never had a delivery meal where I'm like, that is 5 stars right there. Like it just doesn't quite happen because you're not getting that same experience that you get from a restaurant, right? And so I understand that. And so it is important to be able to have that communication, with them and be able to change it. I love the success stories about Hat Creek. Love Hat Creek. There's lots of them around us. Man, they must have a really good liability insurance policy because the kids are just all over that playground, just flinging themselves off the swings like there's no tomorrow. So good on them. They have good food too. So I appreciate that story. Okay, so let's switch gears and talk about Yaymaker, Allison, who's bringing the yays to restaurants.
Every day.
Every day. All of us are very familiar with the idea of paint night, or at least we are. Zack wasn't the other day when we did our prep call, but as a female, most of us are pretty familiar with what paint night is. The idea is you go to a facility, you have like an easel. Oh my God, there is Kelly's. She says she that, but I'm like, that is too good. That's really good.
I feel like we should have just been doing this in the background. Anyone who wasn't talking should have just been like painting.
Yep, pointing
Bob Ross it up. Yeah.
Opportunity. But the idea is pretty simple. You go to this room, you settle down, you bring out your booze, you start drinking, and someone tells you how to paint this thing in front of you, right? A pretty simple concept. But exactly, Erin, look at those happy trees. There's some trees over on Allison's, and I think there were some on Kelly's for sure. But I never really thought about the idea of it being within restaurants. So Allison, dig in, tell us a little bit more about how Yaymaker can do that with restaurants.
Yeah, absolutely. And the idea of the mobile model is one that we had as a vision early on, because it adds to the experience. You know, our mission at Yaymaker is bringing people together, and to have the experience of not just the creative event, not just the people that you're there to have fun with or make memories with, but be able to do that in a different environment. You know, you can customize your whole experience, from the project you're creating to the people you're spending time with to the venue that you're going to. You choose how close or how far. You choose, you know, whether you want a dive bar or a high scale environment or a winery, and you can choose, you know, the food and beverage that you're ordering to complete your entire experience. So it just adds that extra layer. And we have been partnering with venues since we launched back in 2012, all across the US. And our goal is to be able to support local communities, support local venues, and support our local event owners. So they are individuals who are passionate about giving back to their community and partnering with those within their community. And there are three main ways that we really support our venues. One is the most obvious, is bringing in our public events. So when we bring in customers into events, our average attendance of events is anywhere between 20 and 25 on any given night. They're coming in. Our event owners partner with venues and the staff there to make sure that they are a highlight of the event. They are shouting out the server that's helping to support the event, the bartender who may be filling the drinks, you know, one cohesive team that is helping to support these events, making sure throughout the event they are shutting out any specials, reminding individuals to be ordering the drinks. Now is a great time to order the appetizers during the drink and dry time in the middle of the event. There's no fee to bring in our events. It really is a mutually beneficial event to make sure that you know, our event owner has this great space to host and promote their events in, and venues are able to bring in these extra food and beverage sales throughout the event. When hosting public events, the other benefit of it is that you get free marketing on our site. So you get your venue profile on our site, and building on what Zack said and the importance of search engine results and search engine optimization, to have your venue on our site, you can customize the profile so that you can really highlight yourself to all of the customers that come to our site, not just the ones that are coming to the event in your venue, but anyone in the area who's coming to the Yaymaker site. And the final piece is we also have a very robust side of our business on the corporate event side of things. We have an in-house event sales team that works with many Fortune 500 clients and a very large client list that book corporate events all over the country. And they are looking for great spaces to host their events in. And with those events come the food and beverage minimums, the room fees, everything that you would expect with a private event booking. And we are the ones doing all of that front work to coordinate with the client, get the event booked, work on all the details. We just need to bring them to your space and know, you know, what you want to make sure we're charging for the client and bringing the food and beverage sales to you. So that's an ongoing benefit, whether or not you're hosting public events with us. So when you're partnering with Yaymaker and working with us, that's always an option as well.
Okay, so I had a couple questions for you, Allison, on this. The first one is cleanup, right? The idea of bringing paint into a restaurant. How does that work?
Yeah, well, in terms of, I'll address this broadly and then specific to the experience. So our event owners are fantastic. We partner with the best event owners. We have regional managers on our platform that help support them locally as well and coach them and make sure we're very proud of the quality of event owners that we have. They bring everything in. So they have all of the supplies, they do all of the setup, bringing everything in from tablecloth coverings to make sure everything is covered, and setting everything up before guests get there, to clean up and making sure that they're leaving it better than they found it. So that's a huge benefit, especially in this day and age, with staffing issues with venues and making sure that we're still able to support you. The event owners are an amazing partner in all of that. The other piece of it is we've also, with the rebrand of Yaymaker, launched a bunch of new experiences. So Paint Night is still our cornerstone, and that's where our bread and butter is, and probably always will be. But we've launched all these other experiences, such as plant night and design a sign and flower arranging and ukulele making, and we've seen a lot of experiences take off in the virtual space too, from trivia and game nights to really anything you can imagine. So the great thing about the Yaymaker platform, I talked about how guests can customize their experience, but venues can really customize their partnership and experiences too. Working with this local event owner, they can work with them to customize the night of the week that they partner with them. What is your slow night? What are times that you can bring additional people in and help boost your revenue? The frequency that you host, do you want to host weekly, monthly, every other month, whatever works best for you and your venue, and customize the experience. What works best in your space? What do you think will drive that demand for customers? And working with the event owner to put all of those pieces together. And we've even seen things like customized menus. It's such a customizable and flexible relationship with your local event owner that can really work for you based on your venue, your situation, what your goals are for bringing in revenue.
So that was one of my questions, actually. It's like, it can't just be paint night. And I'm so glad you mentioned all the other different events that you have available for people to work on. I think that's interesting. So what are some examples of some restaurants that have made some money on this? Like what kind of return are they getting for offering up their venue space?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was looking at some of our favorite Texas restaurants before this webinar. And I think our best example in Texas is we partner with Blue Mesa Restaurant in Addison, Texas. And annually, we were bringing in to them over 5,400 guests into their restaurant on their slow nights, their off nights. Each of those guests bringing in a food and beverage somewhere between $15 and $20 per person. So to be able to partner with a restaurant like that consistently and seeing the momentum of new guests, we see approximately 90% of the guests that we bring into restaurants are coming in for the first time, and the majority of those guests will repeat. So for a restaurant like Blue Mesa to be able to drive that volume in Texas in totality, bringing in over 40,000 guests on an annual basis to Texas restaurants. And we can't wait to build on that post-pandemic, where we're predicting this is going to be like the roaring 20s all over again, where everyone's excited to leave the house and get out. And knowing that Yaymaker can bring the experiential marketing into these restaurants, experiential marketing, not only in venues, but you're even seeing it in retail and any reason to bring guests in. That is the wave and the uptick that we're seeing. So to be able to bring Yaymaker into restaurants like Blue Mesa and bring in an extra 5,000 guests in the next year on those nights that you have the space available, you have the servers available, and we can help fill them with people who are excited to drink creatively.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I love that. And I think that especially for some restaurant. What's up, Zach? You wanted to say something?
No, we're good.
Oh,
I'm just like, I'm testifying.
Okay.
Yes, I believe.
Got it. Okay. I just saw one hand and I wasn't quite sure what was going on.
Sorry.
But I like that. I think that's really fantastic. And I think that, yes, you're right. We're absolutely going to see a return of people coming back to restaurants and looking for something to do. And also maybe looking for something to do that they can do with their friends that's not in a full big space, but, is kind of, in their own private area too. So I think that's fantastic. Thank you for the examples, by the way. Okay, so let's go back to Kelly. So I want to talk a little bit more about virtual dining concepts. How do you start evaluating a restaurant if they're going to be compatible with virtual dining concepts and the different items you have there? Is it like, picking a menu item out? Do you just look at a menu item and you're like, I think I'll partner with Mariah Carey today? What does that look like when you choose? Like, how do you evaluate, and then how do you choose for a restaurant what concept would fit with them?
Yeah. I think, you know, and the interesting thing is that does there lie a personal passion in it? I think for sure. If you're a Mariah Carey fan and you have to have her cookies and Christmas year round in your location, we get that, and we definitely see it. But I think, you know, the biggest example is probably Mr. Beast Burger. He's a famous YouTuber. He's got about 70 million followers on YouTube. And it was something where we launched in December of this past year with 300 locations. And we sort of flipped it overnight. He's a YouTuber and he trends to having a very young following. I can say in full transparency, I had no idea who Mr. Beast was until we started moving forward with this. And I was like, okay.
Wait, Mr. Beast is a person?
Yeah. So he's a famous YouTuber, and he his claim to fame, I believe, is counting to 100,000 live on YouTube. And he puts out these viral videos where he is giving away money. There's such an incredible charitable component to it. But he's a fantastic individual that does all sorts of crazy stunts where I think he was buried alive the other week. He sat in a container. Oh my gosh,
that is a crazy video.
Yeah, it's it's incredible. And so at Virtual Dining Concepts, what we've done is we've tapped into this celebrity who has this following of 70 million hungry followers that want to be a part of it and want to do what Mr. Beast is doing. And I'll tell you, when we launched this brand, I probably spoke to more children that were wanting to talk to Mr. Beast than anything. But it was great because it was hitting this demographic that was so in tune with what Mr. Beast was doing, and they wanted to get a piece of it. Aside from that, it's a super tasty, easy, and simple burger that Anna, clearly, some people don't even know that Mr. Beast is a real person, and you might come across it and order it anyway. But I can say today we are live in over 1,000 locations across the United States executing Mr. Beast Burger. It's a simple American smash burger concept. The menu has 16 SKUs, and if there's anybody sitting on here that doesn't know what sort of the virtual restaurant ghost kitchen brand is it's a brand that doesn't have a physical location. So you can't, technically speaking, drive past a Mr. Beast Burger on the side of the road. You wouldn't know that you're doing that. However, if you are sitting at home hungry on a Friday night and you're scrolling through Uber Eats, Grubhub, DoorDash, you might come across a Mr. Beast Burger and say, I could go for a burger and some crinkle cut fries tonight, and order it and not have necessarily any idea that it's coming from one of your local restaurants or potentially your restaurant. So we have gone out and we've looked for big names like that, such as, you know, NASCAR Refuel. We did that last weekend, was an exceptional launch. It was my first NASCAR race, and it won't be my last. And it is something where we are looking for restaurant operators that are saying, hey, you know what? I've got some slow times in my kitchen right now, or I need to be generating an extra $500 to $1,000 per day. I need a solution for that. And while everybody on this call has a solution for it, our solution can aid in sort of the off-premise business. It's something where it's meant to integrate with your existing operations so that you don't need to have additional staff coming in. If you're confident that your staff could be making one extra order an hour, this might be a solution that you want to look at. It's exciting because we allow these restaurant partners to look at their existing menu and the SKUs that they have in-house and say, okay, this menu might make a lot of sense for me. And it's great because it goes out and it gets them those new customers. It gets them somebody in their market that if everybody in their town knows them for having the best, you know, pasta and meatballs on the menu, they may be missing this demographic that's looking for an American smash burger. And one of our virtual brands allows them that opportunity to sort of capitalize on getting a new customer through the door that they didn't have to hire a marketing team for. They didn't have to run Facebook ads for. They didn't have to do anything for it. All they had to do was partner with Virtual Dining Concepts and make the food. And they were able to reap the benefit of having that revenue come in through their door.
That's amazing. And I have to say, I did pull up Mr. Beast's YouTube while you were talking, and it was very loud. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm on mute. I will have to go and dig into that later. I find that really fascinating. So these celebrities are involved, right? They're making some money off of this too. So do the restaurants pay for a license to get involved, or how does it just, they're like, yes, I'll do it. And then they start selling, and then y'all get a percentage of that revenue. Is that how it works?
So financially, there's no buy-in fee. We all know that anytime you want to partner with one of those famous influencers, or even if you have a local influencer, they're coming in looking for a free meal, or they want, a $500 gift card or whatever it may be. In partnering with Virtual Dining Concepts, all you have to do is you just have to have the food in-house and then the packaging. And then from there, we take all of the responsibility of working with the talent, all of the branding, the marketing, the advertising, the promotions, everything related to that, we handle to make sure that our restaurants are successful when adding on our brands. So it's a great, easy opportunity. Virtual restaurants as a whole are a great way to generate extra revenue. But in trying to use your existing in-house team, whether you have one location or you have 500 locations, you're pulling those resources and you have to take into account the costs associated with that. Because it all comes down to marketing. If you aren't marketing the brand and you only get 1 to 2 orders per day, that's not going to move the needle. But our goal is to deliver our restaurants 20 orders a day. 20 orders spread out throughout the course of 8 hours in a day, and that's going to help generate that revenue that makes it worthwhile to have this virtual brand, but something where you don't need that extra staff. You can do it with these single station easy recipes, so they make a difference in your business.
Yeah, totally true. So okay, I had another question on this, and it kind of falls into the line of like, how else can restaurants make money, right? I mean, we've got some really good ideas here, using tech tools, having events, hosting a branded concept that's already figured out for you, which is really amazing. But what about swag? I noticed on the Mr. Beast Burger website, there's a way for people to order swag. Who gets that money? Where does that go?
Yeah. So it's a split depending on, with the talent. What's nice is that we work with the talent and will only partner with celebrities or brands that are sort of meeting us at the table to make sure that this is a success. There have been a lot of celebrities out there that have sort of just put their name on something, but it doesn't feel sort of like a fluid marketing plan. We are looking to partner with organizations that are, in tune with it and want to live, eat, breathe Mr. Beast Burger. And Mr. Beast does a great job with that. And I think you see that with the merch side of it. It's something where, people walking around with a Mr. Beast Burger t-shirt, it does the advertising. It's pretty cool. But our restaurants, they don't have to take on any costs with that. It's something where we handle all of that completely on the back end. And, we're looking at to continue and expand that, but it adds to the branding side of it. When you're partnering with an organization like Virtual Dining Concepts that has the bandwidth to support from a national marketing standpoint, it allows some of those independent restaurants at a local level to really stand toe to toe with, those large organizations of the world and reap the benefit of having this national concept without having to pay those fees that you typically have to have that inside of your house.
Very true. Very true. I love that. We've seen some other people do have really good success with some swag of their own as well. I mean, if they have, especially here in Austin, we have, I don't have it in my office anymore, but one of our board members is Ellis Winstanley, and he and his wife Paige created a whole swag line based off El Arroyo. So El Arroyo is the place in Austin, a Tex-Mex place that has the funny sign out front, and they've got books and they've got magnets and matches and mouse pads and just tons of stuff. And their merchandise revenue is actually going to surpass the restaurant's revenue next year. Like it's,
oh my gosh,
it's wow. Crazy. It's
well, I do know when I saw him at the trade show, I couldn't get any free swag. I was like, hey, can I have a hat? They're like,
you won't give it away.
Yeah, for $20. Yeah. I was like, oh,
business man.
But you know what, Anna, it's funny you say that. We made the decision here at Virtual Dining Concepts where we went to branded packaging. And so similar to the swag side of things, in being a delivery only brand, having that experience when it gets delivered to you is important. Just like you had mentioned with, delivery, food delivery, it's not the same experience inside of your home as it is sitting inside of a restaurant. And I do think over the last year or so, guest expectations have sort of figured that out a little bit to say, I know it's not going to taste as good as when I get it in the restaurant. And they've gotten close to sort of understanding that. But to sort of combat that and to be very on brand with what we've done is we've gone to fully branded packaging so that when you order NASCAR refuel, it comes in sort of this fully branded box and bag and stickers so that when you receive it, you have that experience of the brand. And it's not just some other takeout restaurant. It's not just a, white plastic bag with a, number 8 takeout box inside of it. It's something where it screams, wow, this really feels like I've got Mr. Beast Burger inside of my house. So that's something where it's not swag, but it is delivering an experience when they get it.
Yeah, and that consistency I feel like is so important to be able to show that, hey, we're more than just like this this little thing, and I don't know if we'll be in business next week, but it makes it feel really big, and which is great for the customer. A little bit tricky at trade shows though, right, Kelly?
Very much. I thought we were a packaging company because we had so many brands and excitement behind it. But I think it's, when we talk about how do you combat sort of that delivery experience, I think having it scream the branding when it arrives at your front door, and maybe it was 30 minutes late, but check out my cool bag and I can't wait to take a picture and put it on social. And so I think that's where it does sort of relay into those reviews. They say, wow, it looked really, really cool that came in there. And so it adds to the experience.
And my background is right before I started Ovation, I did customer experience consulting with Fortune 50 companies. And the critical nature of plotting every single way that the guest will experience your brand, your restaurant, your virtual concept, and ensuring that you have a plan for every single touch point. Because if you've got a touch point all the way through, and then, so for example, they come into the 4 walls, right? I did a lot of work with Dunkin' Donuts, and we helped them out all the way through. We did all these touch points, but guess there was one huge touch point that they didn't think about, which was their bathrooms. That is a customer touch point. A customer journey oftentimes goes through the bathroom, right? Maybe at Taco Bell more often than other places, but at Dunkin' Donuts, we help them understand, hey, it is critical that you make sure that you have better cleaning policies for your bathrooms, and that we reevaluate the bathrooms, because if everything else looks on brand and there's one thing that goes off, right? Like if I'm nice to Kelly for a full year, every time I see her, and then I say one time I'm like super nasty to her, then what is my brand to Kelly? It's like, oh yeah, remember that one time you called me a B for no reason? It's like, no, right? You got to stay consistent and look at every single touch point along the customer journey, because you can't afford to have one of them not look like and feel like and be like the others.
You touched on the word experience too. I think we've all discussed the word experience, and seeing consumer spending in the experience space, in whatever you can turn into an experience, whatever they feel like is Instagram worthy and can shout from the rooftops, whether it's, a delivery bag and how they felt when it showed up, or an experience within the restaurant, to take it from that transactional moment to an experience where they feel something, they remember something about it, they tell someone else about it because it exceeded expectations, it went above and beyond. I feel like anytime you can turn the page in that and make it an experience, it's going to be a huge win for loyalty and customer return and word of mouth and everything that you need to help drive your business.
Gosh, and to that point with Zack and Ovation and looking at that, I think, when we go our branded packaging, we're trying to increase the experience when it gets delivered to somebody's house. And Allison with Yaymaker, it's all about having this experience, and it's really important to make sure that you're getting the feedback to ensure that people are enjoying it and they loved coming to the restaurant for paint night, or maybe they wished there was fried mozzarella on the menu, or getting that feedback so that you're constantly improving. It is so important to have a system in place to know that what you're doing and the changes that you're making, that they're actually working, and that you can continue to grow from that. So I think Ovation just provides this seamless solution for restaurants to be able to capture that and act on it in a very sort of seamless way. And Zack, you didn't touch on this before, but it is one of my favorite things about Ovation is that in terms of those third-party delivery companies, which so many restaurants tapped into over the past few months, they're a critical source of business and revenue for our locations. It is something where brings in new customers for you. But Ovation can be an excellent way where you can talk to those customers. Typically, when things come in through the third party, all we get is that it's a Susan G, from Uber Eats. And you don't necessarily know, did they enjoy the food? Will you get them to order again? And how can you take advantage of that? And Ovation with their QR codes and being able to capture that data, it is so necessary for these restaurants to be able to capture these guest experiences and take actionable items on it. I think it's really critical.
Yeah, because guess what happens when we have an employee who ordered a burrito on DoorDash, and instead of getting dropped off at his apartment, it got dropped off at a pawn shop that was a mile past the restaurant. So he had to go pick it up. By the time he got there, he's like, "Hey, I'm here to pick up a DoorDash order." And she's like, "Oh yeah, the burrito?" He's like, "Yeah." She goes, "Yeah, I ate that." But guess what? DoorDash made it right. Because when he called the store to complain, they couldn't do anything. They didn't know what it was. They didn't know who he was. They couldn't verify that it got dropped off at the wrong place. And so now DoorDash is the hero, and he's not ordering from that restaurant again, but he's still ordering from DoorDash. And so one of the cool things too is that not only are we able to, like Kelly was talking about, really understand what that guest experience is like, but then using text marketing, you can automate people to order directly from you the next time. So if they order, we have customers, they're getting 38% of their third-party customers to order first party, saving that 30% on every single one of those transactions. And that's something that, that money saving and that ability to own the guest experience, soup to nuts, is so critical, because you don't know where something went wrong. And 1 in 4 DoorDash drivers have admitted to tasting food. Talk about trust, right?
DoorDash is still a great supporter of the Texas Restaurant Association, and so we
love that.
Yes. There are, it's not the evil witch out there, but it's one of those things where you use it to help grow your business, but you don't rely on it to be the only source to get people coming in.
That would be inconsiderate. And I'm sure that the issue of DoorDash drivers tasting food is an issue for DoorDash too. I'm sure they're not really proud of that.
And granted, it's not just DoorDash, right?
No,
we pick delivery drivers. Yes,
exactly. So I wanted to ask Allison, by the way, anyone that has questions of any of these people, go ahead and ask it in the Q&A window or in the chat window. But Allison, from your perspective, what is sort of the ideal space within a restaurant to host an event? And then what is the best event for restaurants? I mean, considering that people might be eating and drinking, moving their hands around, what do you think fits best for restaurants if you were to choose?
Yeah, so, obviously, I'll address this in 2 ways, from the public perspective and the corporate perspective. From the corporate perspective, if you have a private space, that is a huge win. Our corporate clients are coming in and always looking for a space that they can book, where they can host their employees, where they can host a new product kickoff with a group of clients. And so to be able to have that private space, and again, especially, to know what your off nights are, when it's available, to be able to work with you to fill that space whenever it is available, that's a huge win, especially in these pandemic times. To be able to have that space. With that said, from a public perspective, something that is a little bit separate, but others can see, is a huge win. Our event owners come in with the Yaymaker banner and their fun supplies and tablecloths, and they've got music and they're having a great time. These are not classes. These are experiences and parties and good times to connect and let loose. And that's how they got me in here. They sent me to an event and I went, oh my gosh, I need this in my life. And to have people walk by and say, what is that? Not even within the venue, but on the sidewalk, to walk in, to be able to see it and say, I want to come here. I want to know what that is. Our event owners are great at promoting and driving people to the site where they will see your venue and see your restaurant. That's free marketing in of itself to the best audience, because they're already local. They're already there. They're already walking by. Get them to come in. Give them a reason to, give them a reason to come in, enjoy your restaurant, that experience, give you that 5-star review instead of that 3.5 star from delivery, and enjoy it. And in terms of experience, I think part of that depends on the venue and the venue owner and what they want to pull in. But our original paint night is always consistently popular. You know, that has not waned over the years. And that is a great one that people are familiar with, and is a great one to have, at least in the rotation, because people are so familiar with it, and use as a launching point. I will say Plant Night has been really, really popular. What I love about Plant Night is it's accessible to a lot of people who think they may not be able to paint or are a little intimidated by that.
It's
Although
less pressure if you're not artistic.
I have to say though, I am evidence, you know, I painted this. I do not paint. I spend my day in Excel sheets and reports. And our host guided me through, I have piles and piles on my floor that I've experienced over the years. But Plant Night is this other concept that's really accessible. Our event owners are great at giving the individuals and guests who attend information about plant care, fun tips and tricks, trivia, you know, that's a party too. And it's lower, so it's a great chance to interact and socialize. I would say that one goes great with a beer or a cocktail to go along with it. And especially people going back into offices, and, you know, Plant Nights and the little terrariums are great accessories for your home desk or your kitchen or anything like that. So I would say that's also a personal favorite of mine, out of the many, many experiences that we offer.
I love that.
And no, the dirt is not a problem, because I know that's a question too. It's like, well, you're trading paint for dirt. But again, our event owners are great coming in with the tablecloths, and making sure everything is all set up, and leaving the space cleaner than they found it. We knew that up front, that was something that we had to make sure that we were taking care of. So just like Paint Night, they make sure that they are a real partner in crime with the venues, and making sure that it works out really well from setup to cleanup.
Sure. No, I love that idea. I think that's really great, especially in a community like ours in Austin. I mean, or all of Texas. I mean, it's never not planting season here. You can always plant something because it's so
all
warm.
The succulents. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I've spent a ridiculous amount of money on the succulents. It's true. But that sounds really fun and really, really enjoyable. I love those ideas. I don't think I had any more questions. You guys have been really, really wonderful and so friendly and upbeat. I appreciate that, and sharing your ideas with everyone on the webinar, both here and on Facebook. Any final thoughts? We'll go Zack, Allison, Kelly.
I would just say, keep in mind, I mean, the guest experience is what this is all about, right? Everything is about guest experience in this industry. And so let's find ways to make sure that it's great. And when it's not great, let's make it easy to make it right. If you have any questions about guest experience, please feel free to reach out to me personally. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can go to ovationup.com and learn more.
Great. And Zack, don't forget to drop your contact information in the chat while we're doing this.
Absolutely.
Allison, final thoughts from you?
Yeah, absolutely. We are so excited to get back out there to relaunch with our venue partners. I would just say, think about our event owners as your partners. They are, I know in this day and age with staffing and short staff, they are someone who can come in and really partner with your existing team, feel like an extension of your venue team and your venue family. And we are so excited to bring that to all of you and to bring that in. So I think, Anna, you shared our site. Check out our site, our venue page. I will drop my information in here, my email, my LinkedIn, and definitely reach out. We would love to bring Yaymaker experiences to your restaurant.
Great. Kelly?
We are actively looking for restaurant partners that want to be a part of the national excitement behind NASCAR or Barstool Sports or Mr. Beast Burger. And I think we've got a ton of results to show that, we are successful in driving revenue for our restaurant partners. So even just the opportunity to discuss it and consult with your location to see if it would be a fit. We would love to help generate an extra $1,000 a day in your restaurant. So would love to hear from anybody on the call, and looking forward to keeping this relationship growing with Texas.
Oh, yes, absolutely, for sure. We want to do more here. There is a Mr. Beast Burger not too far from me, so I was just looking that up as well. Might be in as part of the weekend plans. Okay, so everyone put their contact information in the chat window. What's over here on my screen? Maybe it's over there on yours, but be sure to go and copy that. I will send it out as well to everyone who registered. Thank you to the 90 of you who registered for the webinar, by the way. One of you will be receiving a $250 gift card courtesy of Kelly at Virtual Dining Concepts. Yeah, it's an excellent way to get people on webinar.
I win.
I know, right? I'm like, I want to go to an event. I got to pay for it somehow. I get so oh, and I love that Becky and Stephanie are having a conversation about the plant-based ice cream in the chat as well. So good on y'all for figuring it out. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. This has been a fantastic webinar. I will post the recording probably within the hour, and have a great afternoon and good weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks
for
everyone.
having me.